Hi, you guys. So this is the Microsoft Excel Basics class. Today, I'm basically just going to do what we normally do in our class. I figured recording it would be easier for you guys because you can kind of follow along at your own pace. You can see what I'm doing on the screen, and you can pause and play and kind of go about at your own speed as much as you can. I will have a later live Q&A session for this. So save all your questions, any help that you need, make sure to write them down or remember them. And then during that live Q&A, you can go ahead and come to me with those questions and I can help you walk through. This would just be a really long class if it was live and I was helping you in real time, because often this class can be up to 2 hours. So I thought it would be easier to record and you can go through and watch this as many times as you want, and kind of follow along at your own pace, and then come to me with the questions later on when we do the live Q&A. So I'm going to share my screen. So this is what an Excel spreadsheet looks like. So what is Excel? It's a software application that is used for storing, organizing, and manipulating data. So the data is entered into cells, which are these individual, and you can see where it's highlighted to know which cell you're on, and then you can see up here, it says A2, A5, C4, so that's a cell. And a spreadsheet is made up of cells, and they are organized into rows and columns. So that's where the number and the letter comes from, so you know which cell you're at individually. And data that can be put into these cells can be text, numbers, or even formulas, and I will show you how to do that. So Excel can be used to perform basic mathematical operations like totaling up columns or rows of data, and it can be used to find values such as profits or losses or even maximum or minimum values in a specified range of data. It can also perform other useful calculations, so it can find averages, number counts, and percentages. Excel can also be used to chart or graph data to make it easier to read your information. And it can be used as a database program because it makes it easy to sort and filter data to find specific information. So I'm sure that's why you guys are interested in Excel, because you want to have a budget or something along those lines where you can store and do information pretty easily. And you can also transfer, once you turn things into charts, you can transfer it to other Microsoft Office or other types of programs to use. So here's some basic terminology. I already went over a cell. So each square in the page is a cell. So this is where you type your information, and just something to note, if you want to change a cell, you have to make sure that it is activated in order to edit it. So that's where the highlighting comes in. You can see exactly what cell you're on, and then you can go ahead and type in whatever you need. So if you go off, but then if you highlight it again to try to change something, it'll change the whole entire cell. So make sure that you go up here into the formula bar to be able to edit it correctly. So that's just something to know that always, and it still trips me up sometimes. I still make mistakes, you just will. But just so you know, and I think this is really important, here's the undo button up here. So you can go ahead and get back what you had before and then redo it. So remember that up there, and I'll get to that in a second. So a worksheet or a spreadsheet is the entire Excel document. So this is all of the worksheet or the spreadsheet. And then a single sheet is the term for, so you see how down here, you can have multiple spreadsheets. And so you can have multiple pages on one Excel document. So a single sheet is just this one sheet, and then here's sheet 2, sheet 3, and then it can go on. A formula is a way to calculate data that's found in the cells. We will go over formulas. I'll show you how to do it. And then a function is a built-in way to calculate data found in cells. And we may or may not get there later. So here are some basic things to go over. We're going to start off really simple. So this is the Home tab. And here are some important icons that you need to know. Here's the save button. So if you're working on something and you just feel like you continuously need to save it, a really easy way to do it is the auto save button up here. And like I said, the undo buttons are very important. You're probably going to use those a lot. What else do we have? So here's where you can edit the text. We have bold and italics and underline. This should all be familiar to you if you know Microsoft Word. Hopefully, if you're trying to tackle Excel, you should probably be familiar with other Microsoft Office products such as PowerPoint and Word. So this is all kind of your basic text editors. So you have the font and the font size and the color of the cell, and if you want to increase or decrease font size, if you want to line it, underline, and so on and so forth. So here we have cut. It allows you to move text or pictures. Copy allows you to duplicate text or pictures and paste. When you copy something, that'll be highlighted, and then you can go ahead and paste that. Let's see what else. So over here we have your text alignment. So like I said, this should be familiar to you if you've used Word before. So here's to the left, to the middle, and to the right, and this is where it sits within the cell. This is text direction. Could be useful in this if you wanted to go, and it'll say whatever way you need it for, depending on what you're doing. So here's wrap text, which is really important because if you type a really long sentence, it'll bleed over into the other cells, which can be kind of confusing. So see, I'm on E8, but it says that nothing's there because this is all a part of D. So if you want to wrap text, it'll fit it into the size of the column, which is really nice. It's very helpful. What else do we have? So, and this is the indentation. So if you want it, you want to increase it or decrease it. This really depends upon what you're doing. There's a lot of really cool editing things you can do with Excel. A number group, which allows you to decide how the numbers in your cell are displayed as currency, percentage, decimal, time. Once again, just depends upon what you need it for, which can be very helpful. Here's increase or decrease of a decimal. You'll probably use these fairly often. It's just nice to have. And here we have the styles group. It allows you to do easy table formatting or easily change the style of the cell. So some of the things we have over here are the insert. It allows you to insert cells, rows, or columns, depending on where you are. Say you filled out a whole lot of information, you know, oh crap, I forgot one. And it's between 5 and 6, but there's all these rows of data. You can go ahead and insert a new insert cell, row, or column, and then you can just type in whatever you need. Same goes for delete if you want to get rid of one. And you can also format, which allows you to change the row height or column width. You can kind of do these all on your own. So if you hover over between a cell and you'll see the line with the two arrows, you can mess with the width and how things look. And then the same goes over here. Hover between the two cells that you would like to format, and you can go ahead and change the height to fit to your needs. So that's pretty easy. It's really nice to be able to do that, to make it look the way you want it to. And you know what? I want it to go back to its normal size, so I'm going to undo everything that I just did. Remember that undo button? It'll save you a lot of time and hassle. And we'll get to some of this. We'll use the editing tools over here. We will be using that throughout this presentation. So let's just go ahead and start with just an easy way to see how you can enter and use data. So today I'm going to pretend that I'm a company. I'm going to be Vandelay Industries. Let's just what we're doing today. This is what I want my kind of Excel format spreadsheet to be about today. So it's our revenues of 2020 in millions US dollars. So when I click on something, you can see the cell that's highlighted. And here's the formula bar, which is the text of what is in that cell. So, and then we're going to go on and we're going to start, and we'll edit this later to look the way we want it to look. So, here's going to be our locations. And if you press tab, it'll go over, and if you do the arrow button, it kind of does the same thing. You can go which cell that you need. So we have London. We're also in Paris. We're going to do San Francisco and Hong Kong. Those are the cities that we're trying to find out the revenue for. And then we want a totals bar because that's the whole point of this presentation. So now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and start. I want it to be by month. So I'm going to go ahead and start in C4. I'm going to do January, February. Actually, we're just going to do that. I'm going to abbreviate it because you probably don't want to type a lot when you're trying to figure this out. And we want this to be in a row so we can easily calculate, because that's how spreadsheets usually go. We want to make sure that everything's lined up. And so I'm going to start entering in my data at this point. So for London in January, 2.95. In February, we made 2.99. And in March, we made 3.02. This is kind of the tedious part. It's just manually entering in all the information. Let's see, just go into see how that's, we're not going to wrap text. We want it to be in the same spot as everything else. So I just went ahead and changed that so you can see how that looked when you're trying to change where something's at within the cell. Okay, so now that we have that entered in, we're going to start doing formulas and functions, which perform calculations on the numbers we've added to our worksheet. So here's our numbers that we've added in. They are different ways to create a formula, but they all kind of start the same way with an equal sign. So if you want to go ahead and start a formula, you'll always start with an equal sign. So we can kind of do the exact numbers that we have listed. We can type that all out. So you could do realistically 2.95 plus 3.11 plus 1.89 plus 2.56 and then press enter, and that's our total. But that kind of takes a lot, and it's perfectly fine to do it that way. But if you went back and changed any of these numbers, say that you entered it in wrong, this total doesn't change, which can be kind of a hassle. So that's not very helpful, because you can go in and change things at any point of time when you find out, differing information later on. So that's kind of why you don't want to just manually type in every single number, just because it's not conducive for accurate information for a spreadsheet, because they change all the time. So we don't want to do that. So the way that we're going to do that is by doing a formula, and it'll show you how to do that. So if you do auto sum with the sum, of give me 1 second. All right, guys, sorry about that. I had to take a break. I wanted to take a break of water, take a drink of water. Okay, so the way that we're going to do this, if you're trying to add up, is going to be equal sign. And then up here, you can pick the formula that you want. So you can do sum. And so it'll automatically do the range for you. And then, but you can also do it on your own by clicking and then dragging with the left clicker on the mouse. And so we want C6 through C9. You see how it says it right there, and we're going to go ahead and press enter. So now if you go in and change anything, so let's say 2.5, it'll automatically change it, which is really nice. So if you ever have to change information or you found that you were wrong in some way, it'll go ahead and change it for you. You know what? We want this to be 3. 1151. And we're going to do the same things for the other cells. So another way that you can do it is equal sign, and then we can type sum. And you can go ahead and drag and finish off the parentheses and enter. So this is another way of doing it. Just always make sure if you're trying to do a formula, you need to do an equal sign. That's what shows Excel what you're doing. Let's see some other basic formulas. You can do addition and subtraction and multiplication and division on here. Sum and average, which shows a simple average. Count counts all the numbers or however much of the value that you have within a certain amount of cells. Like you said, you can go ahead and show which range you would like it to do. So that was like the flashing columns, and you just click on that and do as many as you want. Max and min. So there's a lot of functions that you can do on here. There's quite a bit. It's kind of limitless, but really the only ones that you should be using in an Excel basic is the ones that are just listed right in here. So anything else in that is probably not in a basics, Excel basics class. All right, so now I want to show you how to copy and paste. And then you just right click, copy, paste, and you can see it as all the different values. So that's pretty explanatory. And the way to get it to stop is just double click somewhere else. If it's flashing and you don't know why it's flashing, just double click in another cell. And that's pretty helpful. All right, what else do we want to study today? So another thing that we can do, if I want to erase this. So when you highlight a cell, you can see in the bottom right corner right here, that black little box, and you hover over it and you got a smaller plus sign. And if you drag it over, it'll copy what the formula that you just did in this. Because remember, C11 is not this number. It's not 1151. You didn't type that in manually yourself. It is the formula for whatever is between that range. So C6 and C9. So that's actually what the cell is a formula. So if you go ahead and do this and copy it over, you're copying that, that formula, and it can kind of see that you can follow along. So it wants this column, it knows you want D6 through D9, and it does the same. It can tell that you want E6 through E9 because it's in the E column. So that's really nice that Excel will just kind of like anticipate that need that you want. But then again, if you don't want it to do exactly that, you can go ahead and type in, you know, what formula you want by changing it. But that is what we want it to do. So that's very helpful. And with that autofill button, it can be the same for this pattern. It recognizes patterns. So if you want to do January, February, March, you know, we want to do it for the whole year. So you can go ahead and see that it says right there, July, and you want to hold and drag this. You don't want to let go. That's how you can do this. You click on the left and then you drag all the way into when you want to stop. We want to do it for the rest of the year. So you can do this for years, you can do this for months, you can do this for numbers, whatever kind of like way that it sees a pattern, it'll go ahead and fill in that pattern for you, which is really nice to use. If you have, you know, months, years, a certain type of like number pattern, it's pretty nice to have. Okay, so let's go ahead and format some text. So this is all what you should be already familiar with within other Office, Microsoft Office, or alternatives to that. You know what? I don't like that they're all in separate cells. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this. So you just drag with the left click and highlight, and I want to merge and center. I could also just move it to fit. I don't really want to do that. So I want it to merge. So that looks nice. You know, I want to edit this. There we go. I like the way that looks. So now, you know what? I want to make it bigger. I want the font to be bigger. I'm going to go ahead and edit it so it fits all in here. So you can sit and play with this for forever, I find. All right, that looks nice. You know what? I want it to be in the middle. Let's play with some colors. I like purple. I want it to be bold because it's kind of, you know, what the whole class is, or what the whole spreadsheet's going to be about. So I want it to be really noticeable. See, affecting this will affect all of it. Let's go ahead. You can play around with this for as much as you want. You know what? I want to get rid of this. I don't like it here. So you can also delete, or you can just right click, delete, and then it's gone. So that's nice. What else do I want to show you? I think that's all for that. I mean, you can just kind of see how you can play around with this. And you know what? I'm going to show you for the autofill. We're just going to follow a consistent pattern here just for the sake of this. Otherwise, you would be adding in different numbers. But for the sake of this, I don't really want to have the time to make up all these different numbers. So I'm just going to go ahead and follow a pattern. Because really, I just need something there to show you guys how to edit it. In reality, these would all be numbers, but you can just see. And you know what? You see how some of these, I don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to, again, I want all the numbers to be consistent. So I'm going to go and highlight all of the data that I want to manipulate. And then I'm going to go in, and this is all currency. So I'm going to go ahead and do currency. And then it kind of changed it for me. And it has a nice, lovely little number sign before it. I really like the way that looks because I'm dealing with numbers, and that's the way that they should look. I'm going to go over and do the same thing. And this is also currency. just for the sake of, I was just following a pattern. In reality, obviously you would be typing in, unless there is some kind of pattern to the numbers that you're doing, but the autofill is super helpful. All right, what do we want to do next? So you can also change how things and numbers and dates look. So today is August 25th. Let's do 8/25/20. So that's the date of that I'm doing this spreadsheet. And like I said, I want it over here. You can edit it as much as you want. But I want that to be a date, and I want to change how it looks. So you can go ahead and do more number formats. And you can change how you want that to look. And it says a different date on here, but I want it to be like that. Beautiful. I like the way that looks. It looks very nice and classy. So I want to go ahead and show you how to make this chart or make this spreadsheet into a chart. So to do that, you would have to delete all the empty space. So right click, delete, right click, delete, because if there's empty spaces between a chart, it won't work because it'll pick up those empty spaces and make an extra bar or line, which can be pretty obviously inconvenient and incorrect. So now that we have the information that we want on this chart, we can go ahead and highlight what we want. We're going to go to the Insert tab up here, and we're going to go ahead and create our chart. So give me a second. I want a column. So you can do all different types. You can do cone, pyramid, cylinder. You can do a chart. Just depends on what kind of graph, what kind of information that you're trying to present here. So you have a bunch of options to do that. I would just want to do a 2D column. And isn't that beautiful? There it is. And it looks really good. And you can go ahead and click on it and move it around to wherever you need. You can go ahead and copy it and paste it into a PowerPoint presentation, let's say, kind of however you need to use it. So overhead, you see the different X and Y axes and what things mean. You can go ahead and change that to whatever color you would like to use. You can really do a lot with this. You can lay out, format, how you want it to look. Go ahead and play around with that if you would like to make it look the way that you want it to look. You can go ahead and pause this video and do that as you like. Let's see, what else do we have left? Some merging. You know what? I changed the way that I want this to look. I want it to be in the middle of all of that. So we're going to merge and center again. That looks so much better. There we go. How else do we want things to look? You know what? I do want, and that's not where I want it. It's my insert. I do want a space between there because I think that looks better. And so now that we have this lovely graph and I've kind of shown you all the ways that you can play around with something and create, and you can edit to make it look a certain way, like styles. Let's say I want the location. Say I want it to look a specific way. You can go ahead and change that. It's pretty easy to do. You know, I don't like the way that looks, so I'm gonna undo it. There's really a lot of options in Excel that you can play around with to make it look the way that you want it to do. Okay, and so now if you're done with how you want things to look, we can go ahead and you can press the file and you can save as, and then you would be able to type what you want it to be as, so then it'll be, so then when you want to open and you go to your file, there it is right there. You can go ahead and open that up, and that's how you would save. But if you do save as, that's when you can, you know, make the title of the spreadsheet. And as you're working, and if you want to, you know, do different, you know, change, add, whatever you have something else to add, you can just go ahead and save, and then it'll just save under the title that you saved it as. To be able to print in Excel is a little different than probably what you're used to. So we don't want it to look like that. So you can go ahead and change. That's going to be the best way that you can do things. And if you don't like the way that that looks, you're going to have to go back. You're going to have to edit and see, you can see here, that's where the page is. So a lot of times, not everything is going to be perfect in how, oops, it says, you see how that says number? You want to change that back to a date, or just that number sign means that it can't fit within a certain thing. So that's what that means when you come up with all numbers, is that it can't fit and you have to stretch it out to make it. So that's how you're just gonna have to play with it if you want it to print the way that you want it to look. If you want things like bolded and outlined, you can go ahead and click and drag. And this is where the borders is. So we want a thick box border. I want to be able to outline all of this. So then when you go to the print, that's how that'll show up. So that's kind of all for the basics right now. Do the other tabs you probably won't use as often because they're not really conducive to a basics. These are going to be a little more advanced. That's the page layout. Here's your formulas tab. So if you are trying to, you know, add in a formula, you can go ahead and do insert function and it'll show up to that page that I showed you earlier. You can go ahead and click on it and then enter in what you need. These are for like what you're doing if you're doing accounting. So this is a little more advanced. So this is too much for a beginner's class. So you probably won't be going over that very soon. Also, I mean, this isn't really conducive to this exactly, but you can sort things. So let's say you have this. We want it in A to Z. So you can do from in alphabetical order from A to Z, or you can start from Z to A. And it'll tell you kind of, it's going to mess up your formula, but just go ahead and do it anyway because this is just an example. So now it's in alphabetical order. Let's say we want Z to A. There we go. And I like the way it was, so we're going to go ahead and keep it. And so when you change that, it changed everything on this graph. So it's very nice in that aspect that it'll like keep track of your data and it'll let you know what you're doing and how that's going to affect your numbers and what you're trying to achieve. So let's see if I have anything else for you. That's about it. If you ever need any help, our computer lab is open. You'll have to make an appointment, and you can do that by calling 217-753-4900, extension 5630. We can go ahead and set up a computer appointment with you. Just let us know that you'll need some help. And we can kind of like walk you through if you really are trying to do something and you need it for a specific reason. We can always do that. And like I said, we're going to do a live Q&A session later this week. And this is filmed on August 25th of 2020. So if you're watching this at a later date, the live Q&A probably won't be relevant to you, but go ahead and say whatever questions you have, and you can always give us a call. or set up a computer appointment, just until we begin our computer classes again. So that's kind of all for this class, for the basics. I hope you were able to follow along. This is just a real rough draft of kind of some of the things that you'll be doing. But like I said, if you need specific help and have a specific question, bring that to the live Q&A, or just give us a call at any time. Thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you have an excellent day, and we'll hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.